Hello, everybody. One final time here on Flames Cast. It's a beautiful, sunny March morning here. Hope everybody had a phenomenal weekend. Everybody enjoyed. We got free agency coming up here in the NFL today. Obviously, just passed the trade deadline on Friday. We're going to get into all of that on the trade deadline. We'll talk about the game that happened on Saturday in Calgary, and we're going to look ahead to the future. So we're going to keep it a regular show, and then, like I said to Neil, get all sappy by the end of it, I'm sure.
Yep.
So again, a lot of it too, like it being the final show, we'll get into it more or less at the tail end of it. I'd rather kind of just keep it normal, keep it as usual today. Neil, all good?
All good. Had a really fun weekend. Went to a hockey doubleheader yesterday. Saw the New York Sirens in the PWHL play Ottawa. Sirens won 6-2. Over 8,000 people attended that game. It was so filled that they actually had seats in the upper decks, which was awesome.
That's great.
They gave away this really cool hat, which I love. It says "In My Women's Sports Era," which was really cool.
Sick.
And then I went to the Devils game that night against Detroit. There was a Brett Pesce bobblehead giveaway. So a lot of giveaways yesterday. Devils ultimately lost 3-0. And, it doesn't surprise me. I'm just getting through the rest of this season.
We caught a bit of the game on Saturday when they were playing the Rangers. I saw the first period.
I mean, the Rangers suck. I think that's there's no way to put that. There's no other way to put that.
At least you're not the Leafs.
I mean, the Leafs lost to the Devils too this past week. Lost in the shootout,
and they lost to the Rangers too.
That was bad.
Yeah, that was really bad.
But I'm also
so bad.
I think they're really tanking. I don't think they're trying. I think they've really stopped.
I think everything.
If McKinnon becomes the Leaf, I give up.
They did a mock draft on TSN, and the Leafs
I saw that
to get the number 1 pick. And whatever for TSN, making fun jokes.
I think they knew also the deadline was going to be boring. I think they knew ahead of time. I think they had an idea. That's because they were
so let's get into it. Why don't we get into the deadline here? So yeah, you're right. It was
not for the Flames.
I had Trade Center on, and we had the first one I remember was Bobby Brink, who was getting moved, and you're like, all right, we're getting going here a little bit, right?
Somewhere.
Nick Foligno goes. Okay, right? And it was nothing. Probably until what? 2:30?
Probably around 2:15, 2:30 is when things picked up again. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I guess the biggest, we'll get into some of the trades here, but I guess one of the biggest things was that they were all talking about the double retention, how that was such a factor. And I remember listening to Craig Conroy afterwards, and one of the guys asked him, do you believe that not having the ability to do a double retention in a deal played a factor in a lot of the deals just not happening on Friday? Right. And he said, yeah, definitely. That was a big factor. And especially not being able to move around certain contracts, it was very difficult for some of these teams. And I think that was one of the bigger reasons why there wasn't so many deals that you normally see on a deadline day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, nothing really happened all the way till about 2:30. And, talking about the Flames here, Neil, I was getting real nervous. I was getting really nervous up until I saw the tweet from, I believe it was Elliot Freeman, I think, who, by the way, had a field day on Friday.
He did.
He was unbelievable, as he usually is.
Yeah.
But until about 2:30, where it was pointed out that Blake Coleman and Ryan Lomberg were going to be staying put, that didn't concern me about Blake Coleman not moving. And
sure.
I was kind of fine with that because, at the end of the day, if there was going to be any sort of retention in the Kadri deal, which we'll talk about, you weren't going to be able to do it for Coleman. And I think teams who wanted to make a deal for Blake Coleman at $4.9 million on his salary cap, they probably wanted some retention. And Craig just said, we can't, at least until the summer when the Markstrom and Anderson cap retention slots open up. So it makes sense.
I'm not upset. Deal, perhaps.
Maybe. And for Blake, I mean, he's getting I'm sure one more year is not going to be the end of the world for him, and he's still making, and he's still I think it was more important to move Kadri, right?
100%.
So let's get into it. Yeah, it was real. Conroy said it was 11:30 their time when the deal was placed. So you talk about the East Coast for us, that was half an hour until the deadline was closed. It came down to the wire, and Colorado kind of came out of nowhere again when they had a deal in the first place. It was nixed by management of the Calgary Flames.
Right.
Montreal was talking to Calgary, I guess, earlier on in the day. And then all of a sudden, Colorado just came out of nowhere and said, let's finish this.
Let's do it.
Away and let's get done. So it was at the very last minute, but a deal was placed. Sorry, we didn't have a reaction video. Things happen.
Things happen. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Gaudry all of a sudden heading to Colorado for along with a 4th round pick. Victor Olofsson coming back the other way with be a free agent at the end of this year. Max Curran, who was at the top of the prospect pool for the Colorado Avalanche, he's going to be moving over to Calgary along with a 2028 first round pick and a 2027 second round pick, both those picks being conditional. More importantly, the first round pick being tied to the Toronto Maple Leafs when they made that deal earlier with Nicholas Waugh. I don't feel like getting into that condition because it's too confusing. So, so the deal came through, and it was very celebratory. That it was just, I don't know if you got the sense this, Neil, because I want your reaction to this.
Sure.
It felt like through Flames Nation that they just wanted Nazem out. Like the important thing was to just get him out, and to be 20% retention at 1.4 million, if I'm not mistaken here, for the next 3 years is money.
Yeah.
I thought the retention was going to be more, but to be only at 20%, I thought was really important. But the biggest thing is you're moving Kadri out and you're getting rid of that contract. You know, you respected his demands basically as well. And he even mentioned it in an interview after the game, his first game with Colorado, how he had nothing to love for the Flames, which I'll talk about shortly too. But yeah, what were your thoughts when this first came in on Friday and now that you've settled here over the last couple of days as Kadri to Colorado?
I think my first reaction was more that that they got it done, because it just felt like by 2:45 I was like, we weren't hearing anything. So I was like, I guess maybe it's just not going to happen. And I'm a little bit disappointed at that time, because I'm like, this is the biggest asset right now on the market right now. And it's obvious that both sides want to, make a departure, and it wasn't happening and everything. And then you're talking about management nixing, an Avalanche trade before. Curious to see what that offer was. At least the first one. But
we'll never know.
Right. We'll never know. And it doesn't matter. But when we got it, when it finally came through and we saw what they got, I don't think you could have done a lot better. Honestly, I think that Craig Conroy did about as good of a job as he could have done. I think generally speaking, even with also trading Mackenzie Weegar, which was much more of a surprise, getting Braden Schneider as well from the Rangers.
Hoffman.
Excuse me.
Hoffman,
thank you.
Yeah.
I think Craig Conroy did a great job, and he got a first round pick, which is wonderful. And he got a second round pick, which again, we show when we did our reaction to Mackenzie Weegar, we showed that graphic of like where they are in terms of draft picks. And now you're just adding 2 more in the top 60 picks. And that's important. And then I like Victor Olofsson. I think he's always been a fairly reliable kind of goal scorer. This year he has 11 goals, 14 assists, 25 points with a plus-minus of +6. Again, he'll be a free agent at the end of the year because he signed a 1-year deal with Colorado, and he'll be 31 just after free agency begins. And then you get Maxime Curran, who I don't know, Kyle, if you want a little bit more information, a little bit more background on him. He's 19 years of age. He'll be 20 in late August. He was a 5th-round pick, 161st overall by Colorado. He's played some international hockey. He's from Czechia. Played for the Tri-City Americans in the WHL before this year, after he was traded to the Edmonton Oil Kings. And this year he has 14 goals, 27 assists for 41 points. He had 1 goal, 4 assists for 5 points in the World Junior Championships this year for Czechia. And then he also played another international tournament that I'm missing here. But he will not be playing junior hockey next year, Kyle, because he's committed to the University of Massachusetts. So he'll go to UMass, which is a great program for college hockey. This is a young kid, Kyle, who he's got a lot of scoring ability. I mean, he's very good at. He's got a really, really good shot. And I
Is
think
it fair to
overall,
say that? Sorry, is it fair to say that people are overlooking this prospect in this trade?
yes,
Okay.
100%. I do. I think that because I think a lot of people hear about projections of what somebody might get in a trade, and we start looking at what prospects. I mean, we were talking about it last week about, trade in Minnesota. Look at the prospects they have, blah, blah, blah. And we were like, then we look at Colorado and we go, this is one of their better prospects, honestly. And Colorado's done a pretty good job of developing players. So, and granted, he hasn't played at all in the, in North America in terms of professional hockey. But, look, you add another really talented forward to your core, to your long-term core. And I think that that's important. So overall, I thought Craig Conroy did a really good job and no retention. I mean, that's huge.
Well, 20% retention. Yeah.
Right.
But it's little to none at the end of the
It's
day.
little to none, especially with the cap being where it's going to be. It will be not much. So, yeah, I'm really happy that this got done. I appreciate what Nazem Kadri did in Calgary. I know he really loved being in Calgary, and I think at times he really did want to be part of the solution, I guess is the best way to put it. But he also understands it's a business. He gets to go to a place where he won a cup, and he gets to be on the best team in the league or one of the best teams in the league.
You bet.
And I think if you're Minnesota or even Dallas, it's like that division just got harder. It just
screw you, Batman, for like, oh, by the way, one of these teams, like minus Colorado, because it's probably going to be Minnesota, Dallas in the first round. Oh, they're going to be bounced out in the first round. It's like, thanks, Batman, appreciate it. Yeah. So I mean, and to touch on that, like with what you said there at the end, I'm sure Weegar wanted to be a part of this process, and I'm sure Anderson maybe had some definite thought of being a part of this process as well too. Well, Craig Conroy made that decision for them, right?
Right.
And the understanding that, they have a lineup of prospects now ready to play, the ability that one of the biggest things that I don't think people are realizing, and I say this, that you should go listen to this. After Mackenzie Weegar got dealt, they interviewed Craig. One of the very things that he said about that deal specifically, especially carrying all those second round picks, and now they have this conditional pick in 2028, blah, blah, blah. Specifically looking forward to this draft, don't be surprised if he moves up. Do not be surprised if Calgary moves up in this draft, because they have 4 second round picks, and Vegas, the way they're falling, don't be surprised if they have bargaining chips all of a sudden and they really watch the board. And if there's a guy that they really like and they want to move up, don't be surprised if they do it at all. And he said that's one of the things they're going to look at, is that they're probably going to have the ability now to move up, especially the teams, and I haven't looked yet, who don't have a second round pick, who maybe don't have a third round pick, who, are kind of in that top 10, top 12 kind of area. And all of a sudden it's like, well, we don't have a lot of assets. Well, it's like, great. Well, hello, perfect trading partner right here. So I think that's one of the bigger things to look forward to, especially in the draft coming up here. They are loaded. And I think all eyes are going to be, I don't think it's an understatement that all eyes are going to be on Calgary coming up in the draft. I know you got the playoffs and everything coming up here, but once that's all said and done, like, all eyes are going to be on Calgary at the draft. And what are they going to do with 6 draft picks in the first 2 rounds? It's unbelievable.
Locked and loaded.
Locked and loaded.
Neil,
Isaiah Likely signed a 3-year deal, by the way, with the New York Giants.
Yeah, I did see that. Not
okay,
a surprise. Good. I mean, not a surprise. He was, again, former Raven, played with John Harbaugh. Giants want to play with 3 tight ends. Makes sense. I'm curious about what linebackers the Giants get. I'm so angry that we're not addressing that, at least not right now, but we'll see. But sure. I like Isaiah Likely. I don't think he's a bad player. I think of that one game against Buffalo where he dropped like 2 passes. Other than that, I don't think about. I think he's a good player. So yeah, good for them. 3 years. Good. Cool. Move on.
All right. Well, let's talk about.
Malik Willis went to the Dolphins.
Yeah, I saw that too. Keeping it open because we're NFL guys as well too. But let's chat about the game on Saturday. And I mean, perfect game to lose, right? When you got the best team in the Metropolitan coming in, and unfortunately the Flames win the game on Saturday. Honestly, I thought Ryan Strome was absolutely sensational on Saturday.
Yeah.
You would have thought after everything that kind of happened in the last week or so, losing Weegar, losing Kadri, a couple of months ago, you lose Anderson. After everything now that the trade deadline's over and you get a juggernaut coming in here with Carolina, it would have been understandable to see like the Flames really falter in this game. But give Ryan Strome and Joel Farabee a lot of credit here, man. They were absolutely sensational on Saturday. And maybe it was just a mix of Carolina being bad and Calgary just all of a sudden finding their scoring touch. They're 51-0 and they score more than 4 goals, by the way. Calgary. They score more than 4 goals. They're 51-0. They
basically automatic win. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I'm still rattled by that stat.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Anyway, so yeah, Calgary ends up winning 5-4. Dustin Wolf was very well that night too. I mean, Seth Jarvis getting on the board early, but Ryan Strome and Joel Farabee, I thought were the two guys that were just all over the ice and made a really good impression. And give Olli Maatta actually a lot of credit too. I know he's on the scoreboard here as well too for grabbing an assist on the very first goal they scored. Give him a lot of credit too, right, for just being shipped over from Utah, and he's just seemingly fitting right in as well. And for the next couple of years, like Maatta and Strome, I actually really like the fact that they're going to be given an opportunity here. Maatta being that kind of leadership type guy where, if he needs to play beside Parak, if he needs to be beside Bruchewitz at some point, whoever it is up the pipeline. I really like Maatta on that back end. And especially when you look at that decor after losing Weegar and Anderson, I would argue it's still not the worst in the league, right? Because you're still sitting there with Kevin Ball, who I thought played defensively. I thought he was playing well in front of the net on Saturday. Joel Hanley, I'd like to see him maybe at some point get out the door. But Maatta, I thought, played really well. Just everybody kind of stepped up to the plate when they could have folded in. And obviously for Flames fans who want the team tank, it sucks, but it was a sensational performance. And maybe, just maybe, with the guys who were able to contribute, right? Like you're seeing Parek's name on the board, Pospisil's name on the board again, right? Like Blake Coleman, who scored late there in the third period. I know it's a lot coming from Joel Farabee and who's having one of those random great nights. But maybe there's a little glimpse, right? And some form of happiness where it's like, all right, like we can have these kind of nights, right? And to still have that and the type of culture that they've built, you hope that that's just something that they can keep forming moving forward. So I don't know if you saw the highlights for Saturday, but just your thoughts on the Flames win over the Hurricanes. And he's gone. I was like, what happened with Neil there? So he's just having some technical issues. We'll give him a minute to come back in. But anyway, yeah, it was. I was very. I think all of us were genuinely surprised. It was a really off night for the Hurricanes, just because, and maybe I'm being too far fetched about this, but I think they're one of probably the biggest losers coming out of the deadline, where you only add Nicolas Deslauriers, if I'm not mistaken, and you don't make any other moves. And especially when you look at that Metro, like Pittsburgh didn't necessarily make a move. Braden Shen coming in from the Islanders is going to be a big difference maker. But in a division where you're seeing those type of teams, they're going to be a bit newbies, I guess, here in the playoffs. Maybe not Pittsburgh as much here, but in a division where Carolina can see the Eastern Final possibly, like they kind of just don't necessarily need it to do anything, which was very surprising. And especially not being able to grab Vincent Trocheck too, it was kind of shocking on its own as we got Neil finally coming back here. All good?
Just keep going, please.
Okay. Well.
What people don't get Verizon Wi-Fi. Okay, I'm gonna just tell y'all right now, it's the most piece of what ever. So anyway, keep going. What were we talking about again?
I just wanted your thoughts if you saw the highlights there on Saturday with the Canes and Flames.
I did watch the highlights, and I thought that again, kind of piggybacking off what you were saying, I thought that the Flames just came out kind of like really motivated. I thought that they were looking to, make a point that like, hey, even though obviously we've made it clear what we're trying to do moving forward for like the future, we still want to go out there and try to perform at a high level, and give the fans something to, be at least excited about. And I think fans will like Ryan Strome. He was very productive in Anaheim. Oli Mata, like you mentioned, is a veteran kind of guy that can certainly blend in with this group. And yeah, I think that honestly, going up against one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, it was a battle. And it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch, even though obviously we want to get as few points as possible down the stretch here, especially to give ourselves better odds in the draft lottery. Every now and then you get a win like this is kind of fun to watch. And so like that's what I took away from it. Just don't do this a bunch of times down the stretch here, please.
Yes. It was also fun to kind of rub it in the face of SurgeCast, which was nice. And I sent it to them, and Kat was one of the people that responded, and she was like, "You know what? We chatted about this the other day, and we're not surprised." So I thought that was pretty funny. You mentioned the standings. I think it's appropriate to bring it back up. Let's look at the reverse standings here. So it's gonna be difficult to catch Vancouver, I think. Them being at 46. Is it possible? Sure, you got 20 games to go. But it being an 11-point swing is going to be like the Canucks are going to have to go on a bit of a tear almost, and you have to like lose a bunch. So I don't foresee. I don't know. I just don't foresee anybody really catching Vancouver for that bottom spot.
Sure.
Overall, I think at the bare minimum by the end of the season, they've got to find a way to get below the Chicago Blackhawks and the Rangers, man. They've got to find a way. You got to find a way. You got to get below them. You got to get as close to Vancouver as possible. St. Louis won last night. Great. They're full 2 points ahead. Like, you got 20 games left here, and they're on a bit of a stretch now where coming up, they have a game against Chicago, I believe, in the next week or so. They have a game against St. Louis coming up in the next week or so. So it's like, oh, great. Like, please beat us. Like, it's huge.
Oh, yeah.
Those games are important to lose. They do play the Rangers coming up shortly as well, too. They definitely need to pile up some losses there. And maybe it's a good thing that Benny Trocheck stayed in New York, and maybe they can win a couple extra games.
Didn't look like that on Saturday, I'll tell you that.
No, it did not. But maybe the bottom feeders, they can still win.
Right, of course.
For sure. It's going to be really difficult, though, to get to Vancouver, because I think at the bare minimum, by the time the lottery's said and done, you want to be at least in the top 4. I've heard things. I've heard, whether they're true or not, Chicago's got a really keen eye on Keaton Bearhoff because they've gotten Bedard. They've gotten a lot of, Nazar being up there. They've got a really good group of forward prospects outside of their number 2 pick that they had in last year, I believe, with the Belarusian. They would like to get another defenseman in Bearhoff. So if that's the case, then whatever. If Stenberg and McKenna go off the board, there's still a chance where Calgary can probably get a Caleb Malhotra, who I think all eyes are starting to look on him as he's playing very well for the Brantford Bulldogs in the OHL.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think for the Flames, I mean, at the end of the day, right, regardless of where we finish in the standings, the lottery may be on our side, it may not, right? And you're just going to have to deal with whatever happens. But I still think that this is a very strong class, even if the Flames are not in the top 2. I still think that they're in a good position. And again, with all the picks that they have, where they could really, really solidify who are these long-term pieces we're going to bring in. And it's going to be about development, right? And that's one thing that Craig Conroy has said from the get-go about competition, about people pushing one another to get better. And that can only be beneficial, right? And so, it'll be really interesting to see once we get to the lottery and we know what happens, where the Flames stand. I'm usually excited about the second second to seventh rounds because it's less obvious who we might get. And then I'm more interested in learning about whoever we draft and why the Flames might draft this player. So I'm really curious about how it all goes down.
I think the one other thing that we're going to all keep an eye on too is Vegas because they are free falling. One thing I wanted to point out is Vegas has 18 games left in the season, right? Look at teams like Seattle and San Jose. Seattle still has 2 games in hand. They win those 2. They have they're I believe 1 point back of Vegas, right?
Yeah.
San Jose, for some reason, they win 3 in a row. They leapfrog Vegas in the standings.
Yeah.
So it's not a shoe-in. And I mean, all eyes are going to be on Vegas for us because it's not a shoe-in at all because they've been playing so bad recently.
Sure.
They're 4-6 in their last 10 games. So it's going to be fascinating to watch, man. And it does feel like they could be first-round exits. I watched highlights last night between Edmonton and Vegas.
Yeah.
Colson blew by Rasmus Anderson on a breakaway and made him look silly.
Yep.
So for whatever reason, it's not working out right now in Vegas.
No.
He might want to explore other options coming out in free agency, which would be yay for us.
Especially considering that if he were to test free agency, he'd be one of the top guys immediately on the market.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
You know.
Hopefully they just wouldn't look at the performance that he's had so far here in Vegas and be like, oh, well, doesn't look great, right? But wish him the best, right? We'll see what goes down. But going to be fascinating to see with 18 games to go here for Vegas. And because if they for some reason fall out of the playoffs, man.
Oh my God.
That's another lottery pick for the Calgary Flames, even though it's a super low percentage.
Yeah, but at least we have multiple chances of us somehow getting lucky.
Yeah, it's
true.
It
would be funny if like our pick dropped and their pick ended up being the one that like wins us a top 3 pick or something like that. Be the funniest thing ever.
That would be dumb. That would be dumb, honestly, and I would laugh.
Oh yeah.
All right. One of the last things I think we wanted to cover, or I wanted to at least bring up, talking more about the future and talking especially about what has happened since the deadline on Friday. And it was Craig's message, mainly just trying to do it the right way, right? And it was a lot of celebration and relief after Friday because now it just feels like there's just a genuine direction. And it feels like already doing this, they feel ahead of schedule because of the prospects that they have in the pipeline. There's like guys that have started playing now where Matvei Gradin is going to be, I think he's going to be a top 6 guy on this team moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think he has that potential and they really, really like him. Who, by the way, don't forget, he was a part of that Elias Lindholm deal and they got that first round pick from Vancouver.
And he was actually just called up yesterday. So I think he's going to play tonight, I believe.
They had to move him down on the deadline because they wanted him available for the AHL playoffs. So he had to go play 1 game and then come right back up to Calgary.
Sure. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you know, the lists of assets I could go on. I mean, with the draft picks that they have, the prospects that they were able to acquire as well too. The guy over in Utah who plays for Cornwall, I mean, he was debating on not even signing his ELC with Utah because he wasn't sure if he'd get playing time, and now he's going to get an opportunity here in Calgary. And I think that's something that I think a lot of people are high on him as well, especially with Curran coming over from Colorado, who you mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah.
Kind of looking at the future here for the Flames, it all starts with this draft coming up. It all starts with the off season as well, and I think the main message is now the young guys are going to get an opportunity to go win a spot. And he mentioned on Friday after the deadline, okay, Craig Conroy said, now we're going to get all eyes on our young guys, and it's about stepping up. You know, big guns are gone. Time to step up. And that's going to be the message as well going into training camp next year. I know we're looking really far ahead here. But that's the message, right? Young guys, all of a sudden, especially now you have 20 games left, start sending a message that you want to make a difference. You want to be the next face here. Like there's lots of opportunity and lots of different guys to make that case.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that that's what makes it so fun and exciting when you think about not just the last 20 games of the season here, but like just the future, right? We're going to see so many young players. We're going to look at this and go, this is going to be our new young core. Who is going to be part of that? And it may be a top guy that we get in this year's draft. It might be somebody that we drafted in the 4th or 5th round or 6th round that becomes, a top 6 kind of player, right? And I think that that's what it is. And again, Conroy preaches competition, everybody competing against one another and pushing each other. And really, for me, all that's going to create is just guys elevating their game, finding new ways to get better, finding new ways to take those next steps. And that's what's exciting about it, because now it's like, we're going to really see this. And that's why this draft is so exciting for the Flames, because they're going to be the most active. And I don't think they'll move a lot of the picks that they ended up getting, but it's going to be exciting nonetheless to see the kind of guys that they're going to be able to bring in. And I mean, look, if they can get a top 2 pick, you talked about, they're already ahead of schedule. You get one of McKenna or Stenberg to begin this, you're really putting yourself in the driver's seat. And they're going to be talking about Calgary next year and being like, this franchise in 2 or 3 years is going to be a problem. And and I agree with Craig Conroy. Do it the right way. Don't try to half-ass this. You created a plan. I think he presented it to ownership, and I think that they were content with it. And I think that that's what we saw at this deadline too.
I believe he probably made the move as well when the Kadri deal was first nixed, right? Because management didn't want to retain any salary.
Right.
He probably went to them and was like, fuck you. Like, no, we're not pulling this crap, guys. Like, we need to make this move, right? And it was all about, through ownership, saving money, right?
Yes.
And to me, it's like, that's how greedy sometimes this ownership group can be. It's like, shut up, go let them do the work, right? And for him to come out here and be like, you know what, we are doing it the right way now. It's like he has taken full control. And maybe, I don't think ownership really has learned its lesson, but for God's sakes, like, you got an arena coming up in the next 2 years. Let's build towards that. And I think they're really ahead of schedule on it. And, you do the right things moving forward. You got a lot of assets to use. You got some first round picks, depending on how you use it, but you can really find a way. And you're absolutely right. Like, it's going to be important to see what happens here at this draft, because like, you get lucky enough to land inside that top 2, man, and it changes everything, right? You could also be unlucky in the sense that you move down as well, too.
Of course.
But then it's like, can you move the right pieces and go, actually, we have another first round pick and also 4 second round picks. So you wonder, I just wonder, they're going to make I'm convinced they're going to make a bombshell on draft day. They're going to make a bombshell.
They're going to trade for somebody significant, and we're going to be like, wow.
I'm even thinking, like, I maybe not somebody, but they have their eyes maybe on someone like in the top 5, right?
Yeah.
And they want to go again, like, because they have the capability to do so.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I look at it like, one of the teams that I was looking at was Toronto, right? Because they're top 5 protected with their pick. And if for some reason they get inside the top 5, oh my God, I'd be calling Brad in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
How poetic would it be, too, right? Like, you guys have no prospects, right?
Yep.
You've got no second round picks. I think they might have 1 third round pick. I don't think they have a first for next year either, right? So it's like, screw you guys. Like, you want to make a top 5 pick? I'm going to give you an offer that you can't refuse, right? You move down 10 spots where you should be, right? You get an extra 2 picks or whatever in the second round. And maybe if we're nice enough, we'll throw in a B tier prospect because you guys need it. So it'd be fascinating to see what happens. There's other teams that clearly don't need that. But I look at Toronto and go, man, that sounds so enticing.
I mean, it would at least give them an opportunity to kind of start to get younger, especially with, the core slowly breaking apart in Toronto. And at least then they could be like, all right, we could kind of begin a different process here, right? And for the Flames, I mean, it just helps them get a quality guy that could help them right away be competitive and right away help this team get that much better with the young players that we already have coming up. So
You bet.
I said this when we were talking about the Mackenzie Weegar trade. The possibilities are endless, I think, for Calgary. I think a Craig Conroy can do 1,000,001 things. And also keep in mind, a lot of cap space going into the summer too.
You bet.
A lot of different ways they can go about this.
I do. I want to finish up the Flames conversation here because I do want to play the message here from Craig. This was after the deadline on Friday, where he got together with the media and was talking about, like we just said here, like doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Play Safeway's My NHL.
Okay, you know what? Advertisements, they can go away.
Alrighty then.
Yeah. Give it a hot second for it to go here, but
But Harvey wanted to ask you a question.
no, he doesn't. Harvey can go away. He likes
Right, just go away.
To say that today was a massive step in the right direction for the future
play like
of
3
the
minutes.
Calgary Flames.
Well, I don't know if a massive step in the right direction. I mean, we'd love to be doing here, adding players and being a playoff team, but we are where we are right now. So this was the path we needed to go down. And we thought by doing this, this is hopefully the whole thing is to get back in the playoffs, to get going in the right direction and have these assets and the picks. And, you know, whether we make the picks or we, you know, like I said yesterday, if we could just use the pick to get players, you know, we're going to look at all options. So I think this is important to, you know, continue to bring in assets and yeah, we're trying to get this thing going in the right direction as quick as possible. And right now we're not where we want to be.
Since you've taken over, there have been so many subtractions, apologies, for veteran players, for young assets and picks. How close do you think that this organization is to sort of rounding that curve and being on the point where you're trying to acquire?
I hope this is it, really. I do hope this is it. I hope we are going on that curve going up now. And, you know, when I was over in the new building the other day thinking, you know, it won't be next year, but the year after we're going to be there. I want to be on that upswing going where we're pushing to make the playoffs. And the goal is always to make the playoffs every year and then continually push to win a Stanley Cup. You know, that's the goal. And I think we're on the right path, but you know, I think we have to be patient. We wish we could do it, speed it up as quick as we could, but it does take some time.
So, I mean, he's got it right. I mean, it's about being on that path and recognizing that, you know, he hopes that, like, you hope that this was it, right? I think the next biggest decision that you're going to end up looking at is you see all these big names go out the door. People forget that Jonathan Huberdeau's on IR and he's got $10.5 million for the next 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the next biggest thing. I think.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that at some point you're going to have to. I think you can probably live with it next year. I think they're going to have to, like, that's just going to be a reality. Like, they're going to have to live with that contract next year. But I think the year after it opens up a little bit. Man, you got to get rid of that contract. And the other one I'm looking at too, and agree with me on this or not, is Sharon Govich.
100%. He's way too inconsistent. And he's getting, obviously, you know, he's been in the league now for a while. And, you know, he had that really good first year in Calgary after being traded from New Jersey. But he just hasn't, he just hasn't been like the guy that I think everybody was hoping for.
Yeah.
When they traded for him for Tyler Toffoli. And yeah, I mean, do I still think that Sharangovich can be productive in the NHL? Yeah. Can he be productive in the top 6? Probably not. He's a third line kind of guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think for Calgary, it's like for what they're paying him and what they expect out of him, you need to change course. I believe.
Bet. And who knows? Maybe that comes in time if he's centering with Gridin and whatever. Who else, right?
Sure.
That's something that I'm not concerned about right now. I think by next offseason, I would start to try and explore it. But the big name now, big target is Jonathan Huberdeau, right? And if you're Huberto, right, you're making this money, right? But you see you're the guy who came over with you and Mackenzie Weegar. He's gone. Gotten close with Kadri because you played on his line for a couple of years. He's gone. You know, buddies with Anderson. He's gone. So at some point, it's like for Huberto, does he want to go in or does he want to earn his money?
It's a great
he's going
question.
to earn his money, right? But, you know,
Sure.
do you want to go down in history as a guy who just essentially made like $10.5 million and did nothing, right?
Right.
You had one playoff series for Florida and that was it.
And you'll obviously, whether he wants to accept it or not, I mean, you're going to look back and you're going to see what, you know, Florida's done since moving Huberto away. I mean, I'm not saying he was the only reason that things changed, but I mean, you know, there were people that were critical of Florida for trading Huberto for Matthew Tkachuk. Because even though Matthew Tkachuk was productive, obviously in Calgary, we knew what Matthew Tkachuk was. I think there were some people who probably argued that Huberto was a better scorer than Tkachuk at a time. But now you look at what the Panthers have done since then, and you look at what Huberto has done in Calgary, and you're like, you know, again, do you want to win? Do you want to go and give yourself an opportunity here? Or do you want to just make $10+ million for the next 3-4 years and probably retire?
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. So,
I mean, and
I think this
maybe
is the conversation you need to have this offseason, if I'm being honest with you, Kyle. I think you need to,
of course.
I think this needs to be the first year where you sit down with Huberto and you map out the reality and you just go from there. And we know Conroy's very transparent about all of this. Like,
Right.
we see how he's talked with Anderson. We see how he's talked with Weegar, Kadri. Like, he's always just honest with them, but respects them and
Yep.
wants them to be like, listen, I want to give you the opportunity to have your say as well in this.
You bet.
So.
You bet. I'm curious though, like, what are their options, you know, in terms of, because I don't think you can't, again, you got to see, like, is he willing at some point? You're going to have to sit down and restructure this because, you know, you got to restructure. Like, here's the thing, because they can do one of two things, right? You're absolutely right. They need to sit down and talk to him this summer and, you know, restructure the contract in a way where it opens up trade possibilities, right? The other part of it is, okay, you don't want to do that. Well, probably in the next year or so, I don't care, with 3 years left, Minnesota did it. So why not Calgary? They're going to essentially just terminate his contract and they'll have to eat it for 3 years. And the only good news is that, all right, the cap's going up here, but, you know, maybe with the draft picks and all that coming up in the process, you know, it's going to take some time for these ECLs or the ELCs to kick in.
Yep.
So, you know, I think it's, you know, that's the thing. Like, you could be earning 10.5 somewhere else, dude. You could be earning nothing at all coming up.
Exactly.
I don't care. You gotta. I would eat it.
Yep.
100% would eat it. $10.5 million. If Minnesota can do it, and you look where they're at now, I would do the exact same thing.
I agree.
You bet.
I agree. I can't. And look, I think with the salary cap going up, I think it's going to make things probably easier for Calgary to maybe make some moves here. So we'll see. It's going to be, you know, he's one of the many things we have to look at moving forward. Especially with trying to open up spots for younger players to come in and develop. So,
well, I think that paints a pretty picture. I think.
I guess maybe that's the best way to put it. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun watching these guys down the road. I mean, we didn't know at the beginning when we were doing this, like, when something like this could end, and then life gets in the way and all that fun stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, it's been fun doing this though. Like, certainly something where I went back and forth on for a long time, like just being like, do I even want to attempt to do this? But just giving the opportunity just to sit here and like just shoot the shit is always fun and always good to do. You know, as I know, you know, if you ever need me to jump on a show or an episode at all, let me know. And that's not just to you, but for anybody throughout the network wide as well, and anybody else too as well, if they want me to shoot the shit like I did the other day. I jumped on with the Leafs guys for about an hour or so, which was always fun. It was a good time doing this. It really was. got a lot of new things moving forward, new opportunities potentially opening up, and starting to think about that a lot more recently in the last couple of months. Got a trip in the summer that I'm really looking forward to.
Mhm.
So I don't know about you, but this is like my first not without parental advisory on an international trip.
Uh-huh. I got
So
you.
it's like exciting, but also like, ugh.
Well, it's kind of like when you first move out, right? And you kind of start learning about yourself a lot more. You start learning about kind of your own tendencies and things that you like, you don't like, what you see for yourself and everything like that. And I think the same will be for you when you go on this trip, because then you can look forward to when you have more opportunities on trips and you say, well, this is the way this is the way I would like to go about it. And I think that that's important.
I think, man, if I come back from it and I tell you guys that it was, I'm gonna be nervous as shit when we land, because then it's like, all right, third world country, what do we do?
Right, exactly. Like now we begin this trip.
I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So if I recommend anybody going to Japan, it's like, you got to do it. You got to do it. It's gonna be wild. So if I come back and tell you you got to do it, you got to do it.
All right, good to
So,
know. This is good to know.
And then getting tied down in August. Got the wedding coming up.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, that will be different, because then you start thinking about that, like, it's so low key, right? And then you start thinking about going forward. It's like, well, shit, when do kids fall on the line, right?
Oh.
Like, it's like you start thinking
One thing
about
at a time, Kyle. One thing at a time.
like,
One miracle at a time.
exactly. So I've said it to you before as well, and with the network, it's slowly kind of coming down here in the next couple of months or so. I don't know how long for me personally, but there's some sort of timeline there, at least some point this year, however it looks. Again, it was a lot of fun doing this. A lot of fun doing it with you, man. Wouldn't have done it with anybody else. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day, especially on Mondays, to do it. Keep doing your shit over on your platform, on your brand, on Devil's State of Mind. Go check it out. Yeah. Anything else you want to kind of say to wrap it up?
No, man. I mean, look, I've said this before, and it's still true. I still remember the first time you and I did a live watch along on the network during the 23 Stanley Cup playoffs, which was great. And, we hit it off pretty much immediately. And, we developed a really, really good work relationship, and we also developed a really good friendship. Keep in mind, Kyle and I have never met in person. And I just met Dylan in person for the first time 2 months ago. And I've been here since 2020. So keep in mind, that's the world. That's the world that we live in when it comes to podcast networks and things like that, is that you can meet so many people that you may actually never meet in person. It's true. Then you do by accident sometimes, and you're just like, oh,
shit.
Hello. Yeah. That's how it goes. But no, it's been, the pleasure's all mine, honestly. It's been so much fun. And when you presented this opportunity, me not being a Flames fan, me not knowing as much about the Flames as you do, and I think about some of the interviews that we did, especially in the first season that we did this. And I look back and it was all fun. I think, it was all fun for me. It was a great learning experience, I think, for me, and just an opportunity to kind of chat with you once a week, even though we message each other a bunch on Slack and other things like that. It was fun to just chat for an hour and just talk about this team, even though obviously there wasn't always a lot to really talk about that was good to talk about. But nonetheless,
last year was exciting.
Last year was exciting. I mean, it came down to the last week of the season. So we were in it for sure. And ironically, the next Devils game is Thursday against Calgary. So there you go. Which will be really interesting to see how that goes. But no, nonetheless, man, this was so much fun. Really, I always look forward to this on Mondays. Because it's just kind of a fun thing for me to do that wasn't work, so to speak. But it was just
relax.
It was just fun, relax and chill. And I'm always going to consider you a really good friend of mine and a great guy to work with. And if there's any way I can help you, put in a good word, letter of recommendation or whatever, be more than happy to do that. And thank you also to everybody that has come in lives and listened to the podcast over the last, now 2 seasons that we've done this. We'll go 1.5 since, 1 3/4, whatever.
It was close enough.
Close enough. We appreciate it. We appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to check us out. We really appreciate everything, and it was fun. But as they say, all good things must come to an end at some point. And I know that you're going to have really great opportunities moving forward. I'm sure you'll tell me about them at some point. And I'm in your corner. I'll say that for sure. I'm in your corner, and I'm excited to see the next phases of your life, trip, getting married, new opportunities. It's exciting, man. You should be very excited, and I'm excited for you.
Appreciate it. Echo everything right back at you, my friend. Good stuff. Yeah, it was a lot of fun doing this. Learned a lot of things too along the way, just about how to do this, and even though it wasn't the most craziest things in the world, just still learning new things, right? As you do every day, and sun shining on what's going to be finally. The snow is gone, and new things will hopefully come on.
60+ degrees Fahrenheit in New Jersey today. It's actually warm outside.
That's I think for us it's like around the same because it's like 12 Celsius.
It's poetic, right? It's like beginning of a new season, right? New era.
Yeah, thank you for everybody though who was following along, had new followers and all that too on socials, which is always nice. Thank you, Neil, for doing this with me. Really appreciate it. I'm not dying, so obviously if
Kyle's not dying. No.
You bet. Still running the network as usual. Still kind of rolling with that. We'll see again where that leads us, and then obviously hopefully new opportunities and new adventures will open itself.
Absolutely.
So, you bet. Thanks again, everybody, for following along. Continue watching this great team in the Flames. I wish nothing but the best for these guys in the future, and I'm really excited for what's to come. And
me too.
Hopefully, the ultimate goal one day. We'll see. So.
Hopefully.
There you go. Thanks again, everybody. Thank you so much, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day. And hopefully, you'll hear from you soon. Thanks, guys.
Later, guys.